Hello, friends. This is Confessions with Amy. Here we share new confessions every day.
Blood doesn't make you family. Loyalty does. And sometimes, the people who raised you are the ones who will watch you bleed and walk away without flinching. I never thought I'd hear my own mother call me a burden. Not in the pit of my worst moment. Not when I needed her most. But she did. And she meant every word. It started on a Thursday. I remember because I'd just wrapped up a client call when the pain hit, like someone had reached into my lower abdomen and started tearing me apart from the inside. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped my phone. My two boys, 7 and 4, were in the next room watching a cartoon about space robots. I crawled to the hallway, trying not to scream. By the time I made it to the emergency room at St. Vincent's in Asheville, they were prepping me for emergency surgery. Ovarian cyst rupture. Internal bleeding. I asked the nurse to hand me my phone. I didn't call an ambulance. I drove myself because I didn't want to bother anyone. That detail haunts me now. My ex-husband Jason had disappeared years ago. Some new yoga wife and finding himself in Oregon nonsense. So there was only one option. My parents. They lived 30 minutes away. 30 minutes. I called my mom first. She answered after 3 rings, cheerful, bubbly. The voice she uses when she's around other people she wants to impress. "Hi, honey. We're just heading out the door." "Mom," I gasped, my voice thin from the morphine already working through my system. "I'm in the hospital. I need emergency surgery. I need you to come watch the boys, please. I have no one else." Silence. Then a sigh. A sigh. "Oh, God, Delilah, again with the drama?" "Honey, we have tickets tonight. To see Hollow Orchard, remember? Your sister got them for us." I blinked up at the ceiling. "Mom, I'm going into surgery. I could die. Please, just come. The boys. We're not canceling our plans for this. You always do this. Make everything about you. I'm sorry, but no. You'll figure it out. You always do." Click. She hung up. Just like that. "No, I love you. No, we'll come after the show. Not even a call us when you're out." Nothing. I stared at the phone in my hand for a full minute, half expecting it to ring again. It didn't. I called my father next. No answer. Then I texted him. "Me, please. I'm having surgery." Mom said no. "I need help. I need someone with the boys." "Dad, we're not getting in the middle of your mess, Delilah. You're 35. Figure it out. Stop being such a disappointment." That was the last message I ever got from him. I lay in the hospital bed, heart racing, trying to think through the fog. I ended up calling a neighbor. Her teenage daughter came and stayed with the boys. I went under anesthesia crying, not because I was scared of dying, but because my own parents chose a concert over me. A concert I paid for. The VIP tickets? I bought them. As a gift. Because Mom said it was her dream to see Hollow Orchard live one last time. And they went. With my sister, Celeste, the golden child, the delicate one. The one who, at 38, still gets her car insurance paid by them. They posted pictures. Smiling. Cheering. My mom had captioned one, "Best night ever. So blessed to have a daughter who spoils us." She meant Celeste. Not me. Never me. When I woke up from surgery, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at the wall and made a decision. I would never ask them for anything again. And I'd make sure they never got another cent from me. Not a dollar. Not a birthday card. Not a call. They wanted me out of their lives? Fine. Let me show them how peaceful silence can be. They always said Celeste was sensitive. That was their favorite word for her. If she cried because someone looked at her wrong, it was because she felt things deeply. If I cried, I was told to toughen up. If Celeste got a C on a test, it was because the teacher must have been unfair. When I got an A-, Mom wanted to know why it wasn't an A. I was 13 when I realized it was never going to be even. But at 35, lying alone in that hospital bed, I realized something worse. I had spent 2 decades trying to buy their love. And Celeste? She never paid a dime. We were born 3 years apart. I was the quiet one, the planner, the fixer. Celeste was loud, wild, always on the edge of a crisis. and they adored her for it. She dropped out of college, got pregnant at 22, divorced at 24, lived with my parents on and off until her 30s, and they never once called her a burden. When she went to rehab for the second time, guess who paid for it? Me. When she wanted to start a healing crystal business that lasted 6 months and somehow cost 12 grand, I wrote the check. Quietly. Every time I helped, I thought, maybe now mom will see I'm useful. Maybe now dad will say he's proud. But they never did. They just said, it's what families do. But when I needed help, I got voicemail. 2 weeks after my surgery, I saw Celeste's Instagram post. It was a picture of her and my parents brunching at a vineyard in Hendersonville. My mom wore the cashmere shawl I sent her last Christmas. The caption read, "So thankful for my rock, my best friends, my parents. We've been through so much, but love always wins. Hashtag family first, hashtag gratitude." It hit me harder than the surgery scars. There was no mention of my recovery. No comment asking if I was okay. They weren't even pretending to care. They had made their choice. You'd think that kind of betrayal would shatter a person. And for about a week, it did. I barely slept. The boys kept asking why Nana didn't visit. I lied. Said she was sick. I didn't know how to explain to a 7-year-old that some people can hold you as a baby and still not love you. But slowly, that grief turned into something colder. Sharper. Cleaner. I went through my finances and realized just how much I'd done for them over the years. Mortgage payments when dad's business went under. Monthly groceries sent just in case. Car repairs. Credit card debt. Spa gift cards. A vacation to Sedona when Celeste had a spiritual burnout. Over $84,000. I had spreadsheets to prove it. And every time I gave, I thought it meant something. But love isn't real if it evaporates the second you're inconvenient. So I stopped. Cold turkey. No more monthly transfers. No more birthday packages. I didn't even send flowers when dad turned 60. 3 weeks later, I got my first guilt text. "Mom, we noticed you stopped helping with the bills. Is everything okay?" Me, yes. Everything is finally okay. She never replied. Celeste did, though. Celeste, wow. Way to abandon your own family. You always were selfish underneath all that martyr crap. I stared at her message for a while. Then I blocked her. Not in anger. Not in revenge. In peace. It was the first peaceful moment I'd had in months. I didn't want war. But if they thought they could walk all over me just because I was the responsible one, they were about to find out what happens when the burden stops carrying everyone. It didn't happen all at once. That would have been easier. No, when a family like mine starts to unravel, it frays thread by thread, quiet, slow, and absolutely merciless. By the end of summer, they finally realized I wasn't bluffing. I'd always been their safety net. The invisible cushion that kept their lives intact. I paid their electric bill more times than I can count. I handled their taxes, even filed them online myself a few years. When their fridge broke down, I had a new one delivered in 3 days. I was never thanked, only expected. But once I cut them off, the dominoes started falling. It began with dad calling my work line. Bold move, considering he hadn't called to check if I survived surgery. I let it go to voicemail. He left 4. The first was measured. "We just need to talk, Delilah. Don't do anything dramatic." The second was sharper. "Your mother is very upset. You're punishing everyone over a misunderstanding." By the third, the mask had slipped. "This is what you always do, play the victim. You were never grateful." And the last one? He just hung up. No words. Just silence. Then the emails started. From Mom. Long, rambling, guilt-laced things filled with emotional landmines. "I don't understand how you can treat your own mother like this. We've always done our best for you. Celeste was there for us when you were off being important with your job." That line made me laugh out loud. Because they'd never respected my work. Not when I left my marketing agency to start my own business. Not when I worked 12-hour days while raising 2 boys alone. Not even when I hit my first 6-figure quarter. They called it my little website hobby. But now that my hobby wasn't funding their lifestyle, suddenly it was important enough to beg from. Celeste showed up at my house once. I didn't answer the door. She stood on my porch screaming for 5 minutes, calling me heartless. She said I was destroying our family. Funny. When I was lying in a hospital bed with internal bleeding, no one stood on their porch for me. I want to say I felt powerful during those first months of silence. That I reclaimed my identity and moved on like some fierce phoenix from the ashes. But the truth is, it was hard. I cried. I second-guessed myself. I reread the old messages from years ago. Mom thanking me for the anniversary trip I paid for, Dad telling me I was the stable one. But then I'd remember the moment in the hospital, clutching my phone, begging, while they sipped wine and danced at a concert. And I'd breathe again. And I'd remember, they made the choice first. I only made it permanent. Without them in the picture, my life slowly shifted. I had more money. I started putting it toward me and the boys, finally fixing up the back porch, hiring a tutor for James who was struggling in math, buying groceries that weren't always on sale. I slept better. I didn't know how heavy their weight had been until it was gone. And in that quiet, something beautiful happened. I found myself. Not the daughter. Not the provider. Not the family fixer. Just Delilah. A woman who survived abandonment in its most polite, well-dressed form. A woman who stopped apologizing for having boundaries. One night, months after the fallout, I was tucking the boys into bed when my youngest, Levi, whispered, "Are Nana and Papa mad at you?" I swallowed hard. "No, sweetie. They're just not very good at loving people the way they need." He nodded, thought about that, then said, "Well, you're really good at it. You love people, right?" It broke something open in me. Not pain. Not grief. Relief. Because they may have failed me, but I wasn't going to fail my kids. You don't notice what someone does for you until they stop doing it. That's the part they never prepare you for when you cut off toxic family. The silence isn't just yours. It echoes through their lives too. And eventually it catches up with them. The first sign was a missed mortgage payment. They had refinanced the house twice, taken out a home equity line to help Celeste with her failed wellness boutique, and somehow still lived like retirement was a full-time vacation. Except now, there was no emergency check from Delilah magically appearing in their account. No quiet Venmo transfers marked as just because. I got a call from the bank out of the blue. Apparently, I was still listed as their financial emergency contact. I hadn't even known. The woman on the other end said, "We've reached out to Mr. and Mrs. Voss multiple times. No response. They're 60 days behind. Do you have an alternate contact?" I let her finish. Then I said calmly, "No, I don't." And I hung up. Then came the birthday. Not mine, Celeste's. Every year, like clockwork, my parents threw her a dramatic, overpriced gathering. Caterers, florists, champagne towers, all paid for by me. They'd act like it was a family tradition. They never mentioned the bank transfer I made to cover the venue deposit. This year, there was no party. No rented garden terrace. No custom cake with edible glitter. Celeste posted a photo of herself alone with a cupcake and a bottle of gas station rose. Some years, you learn who really matters. Still grateful though. #growth, #family is complicated. I didn't click like. I didn't even blink. What hit them hardest, though, was the holidays. Every Thanksgiving I hosted. I cooked, decorated, set up little name cards, and hand-folded linen napkins. I even made gluten-free stuffing for Celeste, even though I knew she'd just pick at it and complain about the lighting. This year, my table was smaller. Just me, the boys, and 2 friends from work who had no one else. It was quiet. Simple. Real. That same night, Celeste messaged me again. "So you're just done with the whole family? After everything we did for you?" I stared at the message, then typed, "You went to a concert. I went into surgery alone. That's everything you did for me." I hit send, then blocked her again. This time for good. By January, the unraveling had reached full speed. Mom emailed me with the subject line, "Help your father." No greeting. No apology. No acknowledgement of what they'd done. Just a list of medical bills and thinly veiled threats about how stress was making his heart worse. And you know what? I didn't reply. Not because I wanted them to suffer, but because I had finally learned a truth I should have understood years ago. It is not my job to rescue people who threw me away. One afternoon, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in a long time. Mrs. Langston, my mom's old friend from her church group. She asked how my parents were. I smiled politely. I wouldn't know. Her eyes widened. Oh, they said you've been distant. That you're going through something. I laughed, short and sharp. Yes. Boundaries. I'm going through boundaries. She didn't know what to say. Good. What no one tells you about walking away is that it's not a one-time event. It's 1,000 tiny choices every day. To stay silent when they bait you. To protect your peace instead of proving your point. To grieve the parents you deserved, not the ones you got. But every time I chose myself, it got easier. Lighter. Cleaner. They could keep their stories. They could tell the world I'd lost my mind, or become bitter or ungrateful. Let them. Because I had finally learned. You don't owe loyalty to people who treat you like you're disposable. And if they miss what I brought into their lives, they should have thought about that before they let me bleed alone. There was no grand moment. No fireworks. No dramatic phone call. No teary apology from across a kitchen table. My freedom didn't come in a scene from a movie. It came in the silence. In the space they used to take up in my mind. And the life I finally had room to build without them. 6 months after I cut them off, I woke up one morning and realized I hadn't thought about them in days. Not out of avoidance. Not out of pain. Just peace. The boys were growing fast. Levi had stopped asking why Nana never called. James had started calling my friend Caroline's husband Uncle Tom, completely unprompted. And I was building a life I never thought I was allowed to have. It started with small things. I bought a new couch, something I never let myself do before because there was always some bill of theirs I was covering. I lit candles in the evenings. Not the cheap kind, the ridiculously overpriced soy ones that smell like bergamot and ambition. I started taking Fridays off. Not for chores or errands, but just for me. Sometimes I'd drive out to the lake with a book. Other times I'd nap guilt-free while sunlight poured through the windows. I invested in my business like it deserved to grow. And it did. Within a year, I'd hired 2 part-time staffers, upgraded my home office, and was making more than I ever did at the agency that once laughed when I asked about promotion. For the first time, my life felt like it belonged to me. Not to their needs. Not to their moods. Not to the endless, invisible debt I had carried my whole life. People ask sometimes. Friends, acquaintances, even my therapist. Do you miss them? And here's the thing. I miss the idea of them. The version of my mother that would have sat beside my hospital bed, stroking my hair. The version of my father that would have brought the boys chocolate milk and whispered, "You're safe." The version of Celeste that would have said, "I'll handle it. You just rest." But that version never existed. I kept waiting for people they never chose to be. I don't tell my kids much. Not because I'm hiding anything, but because I want them to live in a house where love doesn't come with conditions. They know we're a smaller family now. But they also know we're a stronger one. And one day, when they're old enough to understand what real love is, they'll realize. I broke the cycle. I chose them. And I chose me too. It's funny how people think revenge is loud. Explosive. Angry. But the real revenge? It's a quiet Saturday morning. Fresh coffee. Laughter from the kitchen. No missed calls. No guilt curdling in your stomach. Just peace. I don't hate them. I don't wish them harm. But I no longer feel the need to carry their choices on my back like a penance I was born into. Some people will never say sorry. Some families will never heal. But healing yourself is not betrayal. It's survival. And if I had to choose between being the good daughter and being free, I'd choose freedom every single time.